Let's check in with the doc and look at things with a wider lens. Pastor Richards on OMG.
All right, I think we have him on the line. Good morning, Dr. Richards.
Hey, good morning to you, Denise. Good morning, Bing. Good morning to the
Good morning, Doc.
Nation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I know that I have limited time. I listened to the Prime Minister this morning. So I don't know if you just want to let me talk, or you going to ask me?
Go ahead, Doc. Because of limited time, I don't want to interrupt you. Go right ahead.
Well, I continue to that the Prime Minister, our Prime Minister, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, he has impressive cognitive prowess. Truly, Bing, you had to give him that. I am telling you. As I listen to him recount, articulate, flesh out, sometimes I wish my memory, and I'm probably 20 years his junior, I wish my memory could be even close to that, and his ability to hit salient points. So it was really quite a performance this morning on your. I think he's like a virtual encyclopedia. So give him that. He is a very, very, very capable leader. And don't be hesitant to use the word outstanding in certain respects, truly. So I mean, not many people could do what he did this morning, and at his advanced age. Well, he is 70 plus is young, but I mean, I thought the whole thing was impressive. His ability to handle and be ready to answer your questions like that with information. I thought it was generally, I was very well informed. I think it was very, very informative, because not often I get the chance to have this 3 hour or 2 hour, whatever it is thing. So it's very, very informative for the greater part. There were a couple of areas of confusion. I know he's a busy man, so I don't think he will call me. But, there's some areas of confusion there that if I had to weigh in, I would say a thing or two to him. But he has advisors who would listen to his presentation and say to him, well, you nailed it right here, because there are a number of areas where he nailed it. But there are a couple of areas where they would advise him and say, don't go down that road again. And so, but there's that. Particularly, I was dealing with a professional, one of St. Vincent's professionals this morning, while at the same time I had my earphone in my ear. And the conversation was around the insistence that what pertains to the frontline workers is not a mandate. You want to know what the comment was? The comment was, to insist to us that is not a mandate is an insult to our intelligence. I mean, there's that out there. If you keep saying, are you with me? Hello?
We're here.
Oh, yeah, okay. I was hearing something interjected there. If you keep saying it's not a mandate to people who well and fully understand it's a mandate and understand what a mandate is, I mean, this was a discussion with a very well-respected professional this morning. He said, I think it's actually a supporter, I think is a supporter of the party. It's an insult. Furthermore, what added to the confusion is at one point early in the presentation, say it's not a mandate, insisting being it's not a mandate. But did you check the faux pas time and again in the presentation where he actually exceeded it? It's a mandate. Well, let's use the word mandate. This mandate, how many times he said this mandate? Do you go back and count? Or making reference to other countries that have similar mandates? Antigua being one of them. So making references and drawing similar and drawing comparisons with countries with mandates. So the implicit understanding, despite the play on words, the implicit understanding is a mandate. And I said to the professional that was I was visiting with, I said, it would be okay if you say it's a mandate, like Gaston Brown said. This is it. This is a mandate. Live with it. We got to do this. We have to do this. And, there's a lot more respect for that. If you just say it's a mandate, call it what it is and say we got to do it. But if you keep saying it's not a mandate, it's not a mandate, it's not a mandate, and every now and again in your narrative, you yourself use the word mandate. Don't take my word for it, Bing. Don't take my word for it. Listen back over the thing and see the instances of that. I'll leave that right there. The other thing that I thought was a little bit confusing, never mind that I said it was a very, very informative presentation for the greater part, and that is an honest statement. Really informative. I learned a lot. But a second area of confusion was in the conflating of the good of the vaccine with the concerns about the mandate itself. Those are two separate issues, Bing. But if we treat them as one and the same, we do a disservice. I mean, I know they're tightly related, don't get me wrong. They're tightly related. Vaccine, the efficacy of the vaccine, how the vaccine is working. One caller called in and said, basic fact, people who use the vaccine, take the vaccine, the facts are there, you can't deny. It reduces the risk of hospitalization and death. I mean, you can't dispute those facts. The vaccine is doing and having that kind of effect. Can't dispute that. Can't dispute that. That is one matter. And you have heard pastors and other people make quite an argument. I have built that same very argument. Why not forcing people to take the vaccine? I have laid out those same very facts. The thing is working. And you encourage people. You don't tell them. You encourage them to take the vaccine. That's one thing. But that's a separate issue. These same very pastors, and I did a piece on it last week, which you may have missed, on the cancer culture. But these same very pastors and other people who have taken the vaccine, and many, many people who have taken the vaccine will tell you that the issue with the people losing employment if they don't take vaccine, that is a separate matter. Because you can't conflate and say the two are one and the same. You can't tell a man because he has an issue with, and he speaks out against the fact that he doesn't think people should lose their employment if they don't take the vaccine. You can't tell the man that he is anti-vax. He already has the vaccine. He's not anti-vax. He touts the efficacy of the vaccine. He says it's good. He knows it's good. He's taken the vaccine. But he's saying at the same time, he finds it unconscionable that a man in a time when you talk about unemployment and all of that, that people are going to put on the breadline. People are going to lose their jobs and benefits, etc. The golden hand extended to them for 10, 20 years of service. Who knows what's in the golden hand, but they're going to lose. And those are two separate arguments. But effectively what is being done is that they are conflated into one. So that if you are for the vaccine, you must be for, if you don't want to call it vaccine mandate, give me a word, you must be for this thing where you lose your job. So if you are for the vaccine, you must agree that if people don't get vaccinated, they have to lose their job. You must agree with that. Those are two separate arguments, and I don't think that it serves us well to conflate them. Thirdly, again, don't think that this describes the whole of his speech. That, like I said, is very informative. But I also said that if his advisors, would talk to him about some of the areas he can brush up, they would probably talk to him about these areas. And one of them is how he addressed the churches today and yesterday. But you didn't bring it up today, Bing, Daniil, neither did you. I would like to ask if he drew a reference in comparing the letter from the Christian coalition to something you will get from the Taliban. I mean, seriously. Did the Prime Minister, let's clarify, did the Prime Minister yesterday, and I won't say much on that yesterday because it didn't happen today, but did the Prime Minister make a comparison with a letter addressing the concerns of the Christian coalition? And he did point out that not every church is on board. I'll come into that. But did the Prime Minister liken it onto something from the Taliban? From the Taliban? Seriously? Taliban? He also said that he pointed out certain things. He's very dismissive of it. Well, apparently dismissive, but substantially not. Let me show you what I mean when I say apparently dismissive and substantially not. Apparently dismissive in saying it is unsigned, he doesn't know who it is from, etc., etc. And in the haste to get the document to him, I bet certain I's were not dotted, and I bet certain T's were not crossed. So he pointed out these as grounds for dismissing it. Nonetheless, he's saying I have a response. It's a substantive response. It's going to be 50 pages. I have a 50-page document. Also, I'm going to articulate certain things in response. So you see what I'm saying here? Just mixed signal. If you're dismissive, apparently dismissive of it, then there's no need to respond. But you're going to respond. You said it. You're going to respond. Furthermore, I thought what was not so well advised. You see, I'm comfortable talking about these things, but I can actually go into greater depth, to be quite honest with you, and more detail. But because, I'm on radio, I would say certain superficial, surface things. If I have a conversation with the Prime Minister, I will speak in a little bit more detail. I think that is proper to do it that way. The more detailed, nuanced position, I will, trash it out with him, but I will just say some things generally on the radio. But this, referencing two things, referencing the Christian letter to something from the Taliban, I don't know that that's a positive stroke. Knowing that the Christian community where we stand in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and looking for an heir with the government at this time, looking for an heir with the government, even if the government does not accede or concede anything on the position. The language, as the Christians try to speak, posturing that language to the public, and, if a reference, I am saying if a reference, as reported in Eyewitness News, if a reference was made comparing the letter to something from the Taliban, that happens to be unfortunate. Also, to sell the image that some of them, and the impression when you speak about not being signed and not dated and who are the Christians and this, it makes us look like, the Christian organization look like Keystone Cops.
Doc, are you a member of the coalition of churches, which the Prime Minister?
All of us are. I mean, all of the umbrella organizations of which we are part of. Let me tell you who the Christian of Coalition of Churches. You remember a big march, incidentally and ironically, why this statement was being made on Sunday the 14th of November. Sunday the 14th of November. Remember that day. I don't know how many of you remembered what happened on the 14th of November 2 years ago. The Christian Coalition mobilized in a way that has never been seen before and flexed to show and make a statement in this country when we marched in Kingston in white. People know who the Christian Coalition is. People know that the Christian Coalition has a voice. People know that the Christian Coalition mobilizes and has power when we are united. And people know the impact and effect. Hello? Yeah, people know the impact and effect of that march. So I don't know that to be dismissive and say, well, we don't know who the Christian, and to posit it as an organization that you really know its end from its going from its coming. It's not fair. And furthermore, there's some other like I say, 4-point things that you don't. I mean, in retrospect, as Dr. Gonzalez thinks back over this, I don't know that it is to call names like that. I don't believe that Dr. Gonzalez would deliberately sow seeds of dissension within the Christian organization. I do not. He has too many friends within that organization to deliberately sow seeds of dissension. But I tell you that there is an impact made when you call names. When you say, I don't know who is in the coalition, I don't know who signed on this letter, I don't know who this letter is from, but in the same breath and on the same broadcast and the same presentation, you say, I know that the Catholic churches are not in this. I know that the Anglican Church is quoted extensively from the Anglican Archbishop of the West Indies, quoted extensively from that. And then because of the hierarchical organizational structure of the Anglicans, if the head office in the West Indies says X, then the sub office in St. Vincent can say Y. You know how these things run. Same with the Catholic Church. I listened to Bishop Barton in Trinidad.
But Doc, do you think the Prime Minister got so robust as the way he did? He spoke very robustly when he got on that issue. It's because it doesn't line up with his position.
It was the strongest part of his presentation. He was well prepared with biblical examples and quotations, etc., and eisegesis. He was well prepared, and I think this is to us a discerning person, and I think I try to be. I realize if a man in his 2-hour presentation, his most passionate part is with respect to this, I pay attention. This matters to him. It matters to him. So despite the posturing and despite the saying that, oh, it is this and this and that, the fact that he was passionate, the fact that he's going to respond with a 50-page missive plus other things, the fact that he was so articulate in his biblical apologetic for why, the fact that he called names which he should not have called, this matters to him. This actually matters. I know, it's my profession to read people. This matters to Dr. Gonzalez. But in response, I know it matters, but in response to it, I'm being fair. I'm not pro-con whatever. I'm just being fair.
But why would an organization like a Christian Coalition send a document of that sort and not sign? He didn't say if it was on a letterhead or not. Sign or stamp it.
Yeah, I'm not in a position to answer. I know that I've seen documents, government documents, and other things too that have the same. Basically, I know you get the government documents that have issues with them too. So let's not go into that. Even from the court, the magistrate court, cases also get put off because there's a little mistake in the document. It wasn't signed. I am a part of a court thing that the other day. That's like, there was a mistake here. We didn't do this. We didn't. That happens when you rush a document. It happens. So don't make it look like the Christian Coalition and Happy Chinks organization because it didn't. Other government offices and of great girth, may do this too. Okay, I bet there are things coming out of the Prime Minister's office that have incidentals like this. So let's not get there. My point that I was making with the naming of names, when you say and you call names, I won't call the other names that he called. He called names within the Christian Coalition organization. He says, I know that they're not going to sign off on this. Even if you have had private conversations and you have private inside knowledge, you know what that does? It may not have been the intention, but basically there you point out division. And we already know that politics is partisan and is divisive in nature, but we don't want that type of culture to transfer from politics to our Christian organization. Leave it within politics. But I don't know what the intention was, but I know the impact and effect. I'm serious. The impact. When I heard those names being called, I'm like, don't, Dr. Gonzalez, stop, Dr. Gonzalez, stop, don't call those names now. But he called names. So we're going to look askance at each other now. We're going to look who else, and we're going to watch who's for this, who's for that. Who's going to be a team player? And I'm the kind of guy that even when I don't personally agree with something, if the team says we go in here, I go in team player, and we need unity, and that has been part of the hallmark of Christian organizations. Well, generally, I mean, of course, there have been denominational divisions and all that. Yes, I give you that. But on serious matters like the Bulgari matter, that one of the things that pushed that was our unity. But when you bring into this particular battle that we are fighting, which is basically this, not that we are against the vaccine, but the battle that I hear the Christian coalition fighting, and I say we because I'm a Christian, is this. We are uncomfortable with the fact that we just want to register the fact that it's this being unemployed for not taking the vaccine and losing your job for not taking the vaccine. That is something that we are not comfortable with. I say that as a Christian. But to name call and to say, well, such and such, you better hear this, such and such, not with you, and such, and to put it out publicly. Come on, man.
Doc, well, I think we're out of time. I see the other crew is already there. I would wish us to pick this up tomorrow morning if you can.
Yeah.
It's generating some interest on the
to
Facebook Live. So maybe we can take this back up tomorrow morning if you don't mind.
Yeah, you could ask me questions too, but I'm a team player. And whether or not I agree with something or disagree with something, if the team says it's for the greater good, let's make this statement. I'm a team player.
So it is, in fact, an official statement because Prime Minister was saying, well, I don't know if this is who did this, I don't know.
Well,
so you're saying it is, in fact, an official statement.
I'm going to tell you something, Bing. He said on the same program, he's going to respond to it, and he's going to respond to it strongly. He said that. So you judge from that whether this statement matters to him or whether he says, I'm dismissive. It doesn't have a letter. It is not signed. It came from X, Y, and Z, and he said that. But read between the lines. Read between the lines. What was the most informed part of his presentation? What was the most passionate part of his presentation? Is he going to respond or is he going to ignore it? Read between the lines. The thing matters.
Okay. Well, it certainly touched a con. I must say that.
Yeah, the Taliban thing touched a bigger con, though. You think Christians are going to be very thrilled knowing the vagaries and exploits of the Taliban? Do you think that Christians, I'll leave this word with you, do you think anybody out there refers to the Christians or something that the Christians put out and liken it as to something that the Taliban would put out? Do you think that the Christians in response will be very thrilled at that reference? Do you think so? Bing, you could talk to me tomorrow.
I want to ask you if you think that there could be a backlash, but I'll wait until tomorrow.
Yeah. Thanks for giving me the time and for listening. Have a good day.
Have a good one as well, Pastor.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Okay.